Dr. Paul, I was curious, how much support, either public or private, are you getting from your colleagues in the Congress? I mean, how many people come up and say, hey, I support what you're doing?
Well, there's a lot of that behind the scenes,
okay,
but not outwardly. I don't have endorsers, but a lot of people are cheering me on because they still think, well, they're getting friendlier and more supportive now than at the beginning because they figured there wouldn't be very many people, that I only have a dozen or two. But I think on the internet we have more than a dozen or two. Those numbers are growing. So that's been very impressive, and they're friendlier, and they recognize that this is a significant group of people. And I don't think they're going to ignore us regardless of what happens in the campaign. I think what we have done is we've stirred up in the hearts and minds of a lot of Americans that we know what's wrong and we know what we ought to be doing.
We're taking notes too.
Okay.
Dr. Congressman Paul, Jared Esselman, 15th Airlift Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base. The founders penned Article 2 of the Constitution in broad strokes so that the president could outline the powers. George Washington set those precedents. How would you interpret Article 2, and what, especially with the cabinet, if there are no cabinet members defined in the article, how would you interpret that?
Well, that means we could reduce a lot of those cabinet members very quickly. I mean, we could have, Secretary of State and Secretary of Treasury and a few others, but when it comes to the Department of Energy and the Department of Education and many others, it would be wise, though, to work with the Congress on that. I mean, you just don't want to go in. But, one of the abuses in the executive branch for so many years has been the use of the executive order. And, of course, I would not use the executive order to legislate. I would, respect that. But I think it would be permissible to use the executive order to eliminate illegal executive orders, and we can cancel them out. Okay, I think let's go quickly one more time. I think we'll finish up here.
Congressman Paul, Sergeant Seisler, Charleston Air Force Base. You have such great support from the internet. What are your views on net neutrality? We don't want to diminish that in any way. You voted no on net neutrality. I don't understand that vote, so I'd like you to speak
okay.
to net
And this is
neutrality.
a complex. He's talking about net neutrality, which is a problem because some of the providers then can intimidate or restrict the use of the internet. And I'm so opposed to regulation. The solution has been to come up with another regulation and tell these owners of these so-called private companies what they can do. And the complexity of this is so many of those companies didn't originate in the free marketplace. They got there through licenses and others. It's something that I keep an open mind to, but at the present time, I just don't think another level of regulation is the solution. And maybe technology will solve this problem. Maybe the people involved in the internet will have their own providers, and there'll be more competition. But I'm known for the friend of the internet because I don't want regulation, and because I don't want any regulation. Everybody agrees with me with no regulation except in this area. But I put that in the same one because I don't want any regulation and no taxes on the internet. I want the internet to be free because this is the vehicle that we depend on right now. Thank you very much.